Hollywood has been a strange thing for us. It's been a good and a bad. But tonight, we're going to have a queen on, a brilliant queen, who did probably one of the greatest writings in our history in the movie theater field. And the white people took it and made it theirs and took it all over the world and claimed it. But after a 10-year battle, she fought back and she beat one of the strongest, richest, most powerful racist machines on earth. Sean, I'll let you take back over your show, but I'm happy to introduce to you online with me our queen, Miss Stewart. And Miss Stewart, I'm going to turn you over to our host of Black Power Radio, Sean Kweli, and it's an honor to have you on.
Yeah, well, I'm very glad to be on your show today and to really express, a lot of things that people need to be aware of. And one thing I'd like to make a correction. I am the only writer and owner of The Matrix and Terminator. It was original material, but there's no such thing as an originator. It's the creator, the author, the owner. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I am, and the writer. So I just want to make that correction and let people know that Hollywood has kept black people out by saying that there are no black people who can write anything that's worth anything to make any money. And my work, which was a script and a book that was adapted into two franchises, The Matrix and The Terminator, made over $100 billion. So that clearly show that people that Hollywood are nothing but liars and racist beings. They don't want any black movies in there at all. They've lied and said black movies don't make money. That's because they don't hold them in the theater long enough to make any money. They get them out of there. And then when they have black projects, it's like what you just talked about, that Jewish guy or person who couldn't get any money. Well, that's what they allow. They allow black movies in as long as they're written by other races other than blacks. They rather pay Jewish writers, white writers, any other writers besides a black writer will get paid to write a black movie project. But then it's not a black movie project if it's not a black writer involved. Because what happens is when you see the James Brown story, it wasn't done by any black writers. So what happens is black people get stereotyped and all kinds of other things, and a lot of lies and innuendos and everything go in the movies. So a lot of these black movies that you guys are thinking are black movies, they're not really black movies. They got white writers and white producers and white directors. It's just like a white person putting on a black face, if you know what I'm saying. Wearing a black face.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you're getting. You're not getting an authentic, real black work unless it's a black writer's work. Like my work, Matrix and Terminator. You can tell that's black artwork because it's black superheroes saving the world. It's not the white man saving the world. The white man in the Matrix is really the bad guy. And they wanted Will Smith to play the role because my work was dedicated to Muhammad Ali, who inspired me while I was at USC Film School, whom I was engaged to marry back in the 80s. And so the Neo character is actually Ali. And they wanted Will to play that role, but Will turned it down to play the white man, Jim West, in Wild Wild West, which it bombed because the white fans did not want to accept Will as Jim West. They didn't want to accept him as a white man. And O.J. Simpson was supposed to play the Terminator, but of course Schwarzenegger beat him, went under him, and kept talking to the people on the Terminator until he got the role. So that's why when you look at it, it's this black artwork, and you see all those black people, they're in superhero roles. They're saving the world. They're in leadership roles. And when you see white artwork, like the way they had Star Wars before this black guy got into Star Wars in a very heroic role, they were very upset about that because in the white man's art world, it's the white man saving the world. He's the one,
Right.
just like you saw in the gods of Egypt. He's the one, no matter what race have accomplished, no matter what race have done something on the earth, he wants to portray every race upon the earth like he's the God of this earth.
Yep.
Even the Egyptian mythologies, black people. But he's going to put on a white face on every black face, every Spanish face, every native face, every Asian face. He's going to put a black face because Keanu Reeves' father is Asian Polynesian. And Carrie Ann Moss is Canadian. And all the other people, the Oracle, Morpheus, Tank, and everybody else is black. And it's not about stereotyping black people like the late 70s, the middle and late 70s, when we had these black exploitation movies. That's stereotyping our people. And another thing I want to say, too, that is very, very important, it has always been the nigger scouts and the Indian scouts who have betrayed our people. Not just the white man, because he's too scared to come in. Malcolm X was killed by black people. He said black. He's going to be behind the machinery of everything, but he ain't going to stick his neck out. He's going to send in your own people to sabotage and destroy you. Yep. Now, when they first counted, it only took 7 years for me to beat him. It wasn't 10 years. My second court case was from 2007 to 2014. I won on September the 25th, 2014. 7 years. He cheated. He lied. He stole. He cheated. He did everything conceivable. He even bought out judges, bought out attorneys, bought out lawyers, bought out politicians, Eric Holder, Boehner, House, the House rep, a lot of people, but he still couldn't beat the truth. That's a universal law. You can't beat that. You can't beat the truth. You can steal, lie, and kill and cheat, but you can't beat the truth. Truth is going to come out. It's going to have its way no matter how many years later. It's going to have its way.
Right.
But what you need to keep your eyes open for is these nigger scouts and Indian scouts. They'll send in some of the most loving and kind people with facades and stuff, and they're there to stab you in the back and harm you. And that's what you need to be worried about. That's how come I won, because I remembered that. I remember what happened to all our great leaders and who they sent in to kill them and to harm them and to bring down black businesses and black establishments. They put black people on black. They put the Indian scouts, and they treated the Indian scouts like dogs and nasty, betray their own people. But there are people out there that will betray their own people, all races of them.
Yes,
and that's what you need to be weary and looking out, because the white man is a coward. He's a coward. He'll do his machinery behind closed doors and in a distance, but he ain't going to come face-to-face with you.
Right.
And as long as you're looking at him and you're not looking at those that's in your surrounding, that's what you really need to be paying attention to. And that's the lesson that I kept always vigilant, was against my own people, these nigger scouts.
That's good.
And their motives and their agendas.
That's great. That's great.
The white man's too scared to come in straight on.
We want to ask you a couple of questions here, just to give a little background for those that might not know. How did you get your start? Into writing, into producing. How did you begin? What was your background?
Yeah, I want to go back and let people know who I really am. I'm from New York City. I'm a New Yorker, and I was at USC Film School, and I was there going graduate school. I already had a degree in journalism, a double major in law and psychology. I studied to be a lawyer or a doctor, so I was well-versed in everything that I accomplished. I was doing taxes when I was in the 7th grade, 11 years old. I was already doing what H&R Block is paying people to do right now. People pay them to do. I was already doing that. Grown people were paying me to do their taxes. I was doing accounting when I was a teenager. I was doing payroll for grown people at a corporation. I scored a 98 on the IRS exam. They wanted me to come and work for them. I went to USC Film School. My classmates were Marcus Allen, Ronnie Lott, James Sinclair, the Moore brothers, Dennis Johnson, August Curley. These are some people you guys know that became pro football players and very rich and famous. They were my classmates. Charles White was on his way out. He had just won the Heisman when I was coming in the 80s at USC Film School. And so I shot my work, the 20th Century Fox. I worked for the studios, Columbia Pictures. I used to work for television, Channel 13, out from New York City, with an Oscar Award producer, Perry Miller Adado. So I was already well-versed in media, well-versed in the industry. And so I wasn't no accident or no mistake. I come from a military and law enforcement family. And when I went to Utah, I was visiting some brothers that were stationed there at Hill Air Force Base. And that's when I discovered the theft of the Matrix while I was watching the movie. I didn't know anything about the Terminator that had happened in 1984. Because at that time I was married and I had a kid, a baby. So I wasn't even going to any movies to watch any movies. And, of course, in 1999, March the 31st, the national release of The Matrix, I saw my work on the screen. And I contacted Warner Brothers legal department, and they knew all about me because I had copyrighted work. My copyrights were 81, 83, and 84. They knew I was from the Bronx, the Boogie Downs, the Bronx, New York City, because they had already investigated me, and they already knew I was a black woman. And so they were waiting for me to contact them back in 84, but I didn't know anything about the Terminator. When I called the U.S. Attorney's Office, since I was there staying in Salt Lake City, Utah, visiting my brothers, I called up the U.S. Attorney's Office and asked them if they would like to prosecute the thieves for the Matrix, and they said yes. They told me to take my evidence and paperwork on my copyrights to the FBI, and the FBI will not investigate if you don't have copyrights. See, my work was already copyrighted, and I was already well-versed in law. And I already had worked for a law firm in Beverly Hills, and I already knew criminal law, RICO law. So I was well-versed in criminal activities. That's why I went to the U.S. Attorney's Office in Salt Lake. And, of course, I took it to the FBI like they asked. The FBI went and investigated everything, came back and told me about the Terminator, came back and gave me pieces and paperwork of evidence. So what happened was the reason why I filed a lawsuit was because after the investigation had gone down and the FBI agents had shared the evidence with me, the U.S. Attorney's Office, Greg Diamond and Elizabeth Ann Stevens, the prosecutor, they called me and tried to get me to lie about the investigations, which I refused. They had been bought off with slush fund money not to prosecute Warner Brothers and James Cameron and Gail Ann Hurd and Andy and Larry Wachowski and Joe Silverton, among other thieves, known and unknown. So I knew once they were paid not to do it, because, see, the FBI had done their job, because what they act just like the policemen. Police, all they're going to do is gather evidence for blue-collar crime. FBI is the same like the policemen. They gather evidence for white-collar crime that reaches a certain amount of money, from hundreds of millions to billions of dollars. Their job is just to gather and bring the evidence to the U.S. Attorney's Office. The U.S. Attorney's Office acts just like the DA's office. They're the ones who prosecute the crime. And they got bought out not to prosecute. This is why I filed a lawsuit April of 24th, 2003, and filed a RICO case. And I had a black judge, the first judge, he was the chief judge of the California courts. His name is Terry Hatter, Jr. And Johnny Cochran, the late Johnny Cochran at that time, had called me to take on my case. But, of course, he died before he could do the case. It was very unfortunate at that time he got sick. But he told me that Terry J. Hatter Jr. was with Martin Luther King during the Civil Rights era. Excuse me. And that he would bend over backwards to make sure that I got justice. And these people, Jews, who stole from me, and they were Jewish people because the majority of them, that's what the Wachowskis and Warner Brothers, just like y'all said, the history of how the Jews started Hollywood. Well, these are the ones who manufactured Hollywood. So James Cameron, Gail Ann Hurd, all these people are Jewish people, and the Wachowski brothers, they are the ones who had stolen my work and adapted it to the screen, and it was copyrighted, but that didn't stop them. So I filed a RICO case, which I told you guys I'm well-versed in RICO law. And they knew that this RICO case was going to send them to jail. So they knew they had to get Hatter out off of my case. So what they did was Hatter had a son that was an attorney. So they hired Hatter's son and paid him a lot of money but didn't even use him just to get Hatter recused off of the case. And Hatter wrote out an order that he had to get off the case because his son was working for the defendants. So that's how they got that black man who was the chief judge of the whole California federal courts, got him off of the case because they knew he was going to melt out justice. They couldn't cheat. So they put their own girl, Margaret Morrow, Judge Margaret Morrow, a Scientologist. They put her on the bench. She's right now shutting down all kind of cases. She's getting paid to shut down all kind of cases on James Cameron, who's got at least about 12 lawsuits on Avatar he stole from so many people. That's why you haven't seen an Avatar 2 or 3. And you could Google whatever I'm saying. It's all what I'm saying can be Googled. I can give you documentation, proof to back up everything I'm saying to you guys. I'm going to speak the truth because nobody can beat the truth. And that's one thing that you can speak and you don't have to be afraid of speaking is the truth. Right. There's not a damn thing, excuse my language, that anyone can do about the truth. It is what it is. You know what I mean? So what I'm saying is they knew that they were going to go to jail, so they sent 4 attorneys to sabotage me. 3 of the attorneys, one was Jewish, 2 was white, and 1 was half white and half black. Now, the one that was mixed told on the other ones. His name was Dean Webb. He told me, and he told the FBI that they were sent to sabotage my first California case to keep from going to jail. What they did was they paid all these white attorneys to not put in my evidence. If you don't put in any evidence, the judge can shut your case down on a summary judgment. All it means is that they wanted that case dismissed so they wouldn't go to jail. They didn't win anything, and I didn't lose anything. But what people don't know is that Warner Brothers and the Wachowskis had lost that California case because they never answered the amended complaint. You have 30 days, and when somebody files a lawsuit on you, you have 30 days to answer. If you do not answer, you lose by default judgment. They lost by default judgment because they were scared of that RICO, scared of going to jail. But my lawyers never put in the judicial notice because you have to put in a judicial notice to the clerk of courts so they can issue you a default judgment on them. And this is why they didn't win the attorney fees for $305,000 because they were not in the arena. So when the judge made her ruling on June the 13th, 2005, they were not in the arena. So they didn't. So therefore, they couldn't ask me for any money. And they made sure that I didn't appear on the stand so I could speak for myself. They made sure I didn't do any depositions. And I was kind of a little bit aware of what they were doing but it was kind of too late, if you know what I'm saying, when I became aware of it, because I didn't think that all 4 of them would sabotage me. I figured maybe 1 or 2, maybe 3 law firms would sabotage, but not all 4 of them. That's unheard of.
Mm-hmm.
And so they didn't put in the movies. Even if they had just put in the movies, the judge said I would have won the court case. But it was okay, because what they did was they made sure I couldn't even get an appeal in. You have 30 days to put in an appeal. They waited till the 31st day to make sure that I would not be able to appeal anything. They thought they were really slick and smart, because that's what people think when they take shortcuts, and they think they're getting over, and they think they, so super smart. But what happens is, just like in pool, you beat yourself. You shoot the 8 ball in the wrong hole. That's what they did.
Right.
They beat themselves, because one thing they didn't count on who I was. If I wrote The Matrix and Terminator, I'm way ahead of them. I'm the Oracle that you see in the movie.
Exactly.
My grandmother, I'm a shaman. My grandmother's full-blooded Cherokee. And my grandfather was Portuguese, but my father is Portuguese. But my grandmother's full-blooded Cherokee. She's a shaman, and I'm a shaman. So I already saw what they were going to do and beat them before they could even get to where they were going.
Right.
What I did was I waited to 2007, and I filed another federal lawsuit in Utah, because I was staying there visiting my brothers. The FBI told me, since I was living there, you could file a lawsuit where the action took place, California, which I did the first court case, or I could file where the victim lived, where I was victimized during the time when I was in Utah. So I filed my second court case in Utah because of the Mormons, and I knew that the Mormons and the Scientologists didn't really get along, because these people, they were all part of the Scientology church, and that's something you guys need to be aware of. There's a lot of power there, and it's nothing made of nothing but judges and lawyers, besides the celebrities that you guys have heard of. And the most popular Scientologist is not Tom Cruise, and it's not John Travolta. It's Charles Manson. It's Charles Manson who killed Sharon Tate. Go back and look it up.
Jeez.
That is the most popular and the biggest Scientologist, Charles Manson. And the Manson murders back in the 60s, like I think back in 68.
That's heavy.
So I knew that Howard Hughes' lawyers actually came to me, and they wanted to represent me. They told me that they were the only ones to beat out the Scientologist attorneys, because what these attorneys that they put on me, those 3 white ones, 2 whites and 1 Jew, and they were all Scientologists, and they had worked cases together. So they were all buddy, and Judge Morrow was a Scientologist. They all belonged to the same church, and she had worked for Warner Brothers. Judge Morrow, her law firm had worked for Warner Brothers, so she should have recused herself immediately, which she didn't. And the people in the media was talking about that she should have recused herself. But anyway, I filed the second lawsuit because the Howard Hughes attorneys told me that they didn't like the Scientologists, the Mormons. So I figured if I followed there, I would get a fair shot with the Mormons. And so they had a really good judge on my case, Dale Campbell. He was a really good judge, and of course they took him out of the case. And they brought in their girl, Brooke Wells, and Clark Wadoff, who was nothing but a KKK, Ku Klux Klansman. They put them on the bench to handle the case, but they couldn't handle me. And they gave me some more white attorneys, but these white attorneys were kind of honest attorneys, especially one of them. But they started to threaten them. And when it was a black guy worked with them also, but they threatened to kill them one of them got scared and he left the case immediately. The black one and the white one, the black one was a paralegal that worked for them. He was studying law. They decided to take the money from Warner Brothers. Now, they didn't hardly have any money. And just like those Native Americans were saying when over there in Oklahoma City, when they had all those oil wells, and they said every time they went back to see the lawyers kept getting more expensive law firms and buildings. Well, that's what was going on with me, because once they started paying that white one and the black one off, they started getting all kinds of new houses and cars and buildings with their names on it and BMWs, and you know where that was coming from, right? They were paying them to sabotage my case, the second case in Utah. So what I did was I had a new judge came on the bench, David Nerfer, for a minute, and I got hold of him. I had him the court order the white lawyer off my case, and I took over the case myself, and I also got the default judgment, and I won the court case. That's why it took 7 years, because they kept switching out judges. The next judges to come on the bench was Evelyn J. First and Dee Benson. Evelyn J. First is a magistrate judge. I had a hearing on June the 25th, 2014, and in that hearing I had 3 expert witnesses, one flying in from, these were expert witnesses like CPAs, one flying in from California, one black woman from Utah, and one Italian CPA from Utah, Salt Lake City, Utah. And anyway, they tallied up the damages of over $4.7 billion. But I knew the racist judge, Dee Benson, he was a Bush senior appointee. And he was on that, one of those high courts. He was an Article 3 judge. And one of those judges on the secret chambers, you know, and that they do a lot of stuff behind closed doors. And he was a racist judge. And this other judge, she had slept her way to the top. She didn't know anything about law, pretty much, the magistrate judge. But I knew that they were not going to show up the day, June the 25th, 2014, because they had committed a criminal act. And if you've committed a criminal act and you're going to get deposed on the witness stand, you don't want to be in front of a magistrate judge. You're going to go to jail.
Right.
That's for sure. Mm-hmm. Now, a federal judge like Benson could send you to jail if you're in contempt or you perjure yourself or you just commit an act right out in the courtroom. But if you committed a criminal act, a crime, even if it was before you got there and it gets found out, you can go to jail immediately. So the judge, Evelyn First, was shocked when she didn't see none of the defendants nor any of their attorneys. Another thing I want people to know, if you represent someone, you can go to jail also. The lawyers can go to jail just like the defendants, because you're actually speaking for that person. So you and that person are one and the same at that moment. So none of the attorneys or their defendants showed up. And I knew they were not going to show up. So I had the whole courtroom to myself. I brought in over 134 pieces of evidence, including the movies, the copyrights. I own all the copyrights to the derivatives. I own the copyrights to the Matrix, the Terminator, Enter the Matrix, Anti-Matrix, all of it, Terminator. These are nothing but derivatives. All they did was adapt my work to the screen. They didn't write it. They didn't create anything. It's just like a conductor take Mozart or Beethoven's composition and you go to the concert to listen to it. All the conductor is doing is interpreting the composition that was already written, already done by Mozart and Beethoven, even if they were dead, alive, doesn't matter. All he's doing is interpreting their work. He's not creating their work. But a lot of people don't know this. Is why I'm explaining this and breaking it down, because a lot of black people don't know how it works. They think that these white people created all of this because they see it on the screen. No, they just adapt people's work. Like J.R. Tolkien's Lord of the Rings. J.R. Tolkien has already done the books. He's already done the work. The Harry Potter book. J.K. Rowling had already done the book. John Grisham, The Firm, or The Pelican Brief. The man has already done the work. All they're doing is adapting his work to the screen. It becomes a derivative from the source work. Just like I go in the hospital and I have some babies and somebody steals my babies out of the hospital and they give them another name or they, put on some different clothes. Doesn't matter. Those are my children and I can get them back by going and putting birth certificates out on them. That's the same way with a copyright. Someone steals something that's derived from your source, you just put a copyright on it. It belongs to you.
Right.
Doesn't matter about who stole it. Doesn't matter if they are interpreting it. It still belongs to you. Theft is theft.
Right.
I tell people that because people was asking me questions like, well, how do I protect myself? I said, you get a copyright. That's how you protect yourself. That's how everybody protects themselves. You get a copyright. A copyright is your title of ownership. It acts the same way as your deed to your house. It acts the same way as the title to your car. It acts the same way that receipt to the products and television set that you bought or food you just bought. You have a receipt with the serial numbers. That's the same way a copyright is.
Exactly.
But a lot of people don't know this. I have to really break it down and teach our people, besides not just only our people, but a lot of other races out there have no inkling or idea what any of this means.
We're glad
I told somebody, because I have to break it down. I told somebody, it doesn't matter if somebody steal your car and put some Daytons on there, or if they steal your car and put some new tires on there, or if they steal your car and they change the color. The new color doesn't make it not your car. The VIN number shows that you are the owner by title.
That belongs to you. That's right.
It belongs to you. It doesn't make your car or your house lesser because someone has taken something away from it or added something to it, and it doesn't lessen the crime.
Not at all.
And it doesn't mean that they own some of it. Yes, go ahead.
On that note, Sister Sophia, tell us how did the Wachowski brothers, how did they get your actual writings to adapt? Did you all have an original deal? Were you all working together in the beginning?
No, I was going to go to that. I'm glad you brought that up. While I was at USC Film School, I started shopping my work. Because back in the 80s, we would shop our work. Shopping means that you would send your work to a studio. Like I was looking for the director, George Lucas. I saw Star Wars, and I wanted Lucas to direct my work. See, my work is the opposite of Star Wars. What I wrote was the second coming of Christ, done in science fiction form, the evolutions of consciousness, man versus the machine. So I was looking for Lucas to direct my work. Star Wars is the wars of heaven. It's how Satan fell from the light side to the dark side. That's what Star Wars, which is totally opposite of Matrix and Terminator. Terminator is the prequels to the Matrix. It's end-time revelations. It's talking about how the Terminator comes, the clone microchip, naked without shame, comes all the way from his own planet of the machines in the future to the past to kill the woman, Sarah Connor, who's Neo's mother. And it's past, present, and future time travel. And Matrix is the future. Matrix is a Latin word for the woman's womb, a stargate or portal that brings the bodies into this dimension called Earth. And so the Terminators, the machines in the future, is going to oppress the people. They're going to become so advanced. They're microchipped, cloned, naked without shame. That's why he didn't know, the Terminator didn't know he was naked, because he's a machine.
Right.
He has no consciousness, no feelings, no emotions. Killed but cannot be killed. Wrapped in flesh, coming to kill. And so in one Terminator has to come and save the woman. And so John Connor's Jesus Christ, JC grows up to be Neo, one and the same in the Matrix. And when the revolution or the rebellion starts, the rebels come to him when he reaches 30 years of age. John Connor, Neo, and Neo is just an anagram because Jesus was the only one called the One, O-N-E-N-E-O, an anagram. For sneaky way of calling him the One, Neo, the One. And matrix is a word that comes from the Bible, 7,000 years ago, 7,000-year-old word in the King James Bible. It's mentioned 5 times. Exodus 34th chapter, 19th verse, God says, he who opens the matrix, or the baby coming out of the womb, including the animals, firstborn, they're born with souls. They're his children, because man would, in Genesis, that's right, Genesis is an Ebonic word or anagram for is genes, Genesis. You flip it around, it's nothing but 2 words, Isgenes, is genes. It's talking about somebody being born.
Right.
And who's being born in Genesis? Man is creating his own children, petri dish babies, test tube babies, clones, artificial inseminated babies. And God's babies are coming through the woman's womb, the matrix. And in that womb, you're the first 11 weeks, you're nothing but blood, water, and spirit. That's right. At the 12th week, the soul joins to the body because the mother is eating from the earth, matter, and the body is being formed for 9 months, but the soul attaches at the 12th week. That's why a doctor will not perform an abortion, because you're killing a living soul.
Right.
So these people, when they stole from me, didn't know that matrix came out of the Bible because they had never never read the Bible, didn't even understand anything about the Bible, knew nothing that Jesus was called the One, had no idea about Terminator, end-time revelations, and the Matrix. And that it couldn't come from any male because the male has the seed and the woman has the womb. And the womb is a Latin word for the matrix. That the creativity, all creativity comes from the female or the feminine energy. Or creativity. Out of the woman's womb came man. And that a man is a woman with a womb. Womb man. The womb. And without that womb, no one can bring anything into this dimension. If you don't have that womb, that stargate, that portal, nothing is coming into this dimension. There's no man that has a womb. There's no doctor upon the earth that can give a man a womb. So therefore, there's no doctor upon the earth can make a man into a woman. You're just paying him $40,000 to make you into Frankenstein. Because once you cut off your seed, you no longer are part of the process. You're nothing now but with some false growth because your breasts have no purpose. You see what I'm talking about? You got tumors, which are false growth because the woman's breasts give forth milk for the baby. So a doctor can put some false growth or tumors on anybody. A false growth has no purpose. Everything that God creates was created with a purpose. And everything that man has created is created to serve a purpose. Now listen to the difference. God created everything with purpose, meaning that the breast of a woman provides milk, that the womb of a woman brings you into this stargate, this dimension, through her portal, and that the man, when he sprouts his seeds, is to replenish the earth. But once you cut those seeds off, it has no purpose. You have no purpose. Because you're not a woman because you have no womb. You're not a man anymore because you have no seeds. But you are Frankenstein. And now you serve a purpose for man. But what purpose that is, I have no idea. Because I said everything that God created, it was created with purpose. The fingers have a purpose. The blood has a purpose. The heart has a purpose. The air has a purpose. The fire has a purpose. The water has a purpose. The sun. Everything that God has created has purpose. It was created with a purpose. It has a purpose. And it worked that purpose in a cycle of obedience. Water will pop up in your backyard. This air, man can't put a switch on it and turn it off. You're going to breathe it forever. Man can't put a switch on the sun and stop it from coming up. It's going to come up every day. Whether the clouds cover it up, whether it's raining, whatever, it's going to be there. Whether it's snowing and it's all cloudy, you can't see, the sun is still coming up every day. Everything God has created, man cannot put a switch on and stop it. It is born in a cycle of obedience, including the animals and the insects.
That's true.
Every living thing. And if you don't believe me, then go out and see for yourself. And everything that man has created serves a purpose. When man took a horse and a donkey, he created a mule because the mule would carry a heavier load. But the mule can't duplicate itself because it has no womb. So these children that man is creating in the laboratory, they have no soul. They serve a purpose, but they will not be able to duplicate.
That's a fact. That's a fact.
That is a fact. It's true. Even the food that man creates, the hybrid food, it serves a purpose to get him more money or to do some harm or do whatever he wants, but it was never created with purpose because it was not created by God. Because everything God creates is created with a purpose. Everything man creates serves a purpose. It serves. It's not recycled.
Yes, indeed.
It's innate.
Serves.
Innate means that it is not born. It's innate. Man created it. Wasn't born in a cycle of obedience. Go ahead.
Sophia, so you were shopping your scripts and trying to get your stuff out there, and they fell into the hands of these brothers, or
what happened was the James Cameron and Gail Ann Hurd got it through Susan Mez back from 20th Century Fox, and then the Wachowski brothers in '86 they were looking for a science fiction manuscript, and I answered an ad, and I sent them everything. And when you see 2 and 3, they tried to change 2 and 3 into their own. That's why it failed. They still was using my characters, still using my graphics, my special effects, my concept, but they tried to change it into another direction to make it their own. And that's why you saw 2 and 3 bombed. And then you saw their own work bomb, Jupiter Ascending. But it also showed everybody that they did not create and write The Matrix and Terminator. Right. All the diehard fans, you can't fool these diehard fans. That's why the Terminator Genesis, and they tried to use the word Ebonics because they heard me speaking about Genesis. And because I've done over 4,000 media interviews in television, radio, print, magazine, newspaper. And these people have been listening to me for years speaking. But what they don't understand is the people fell in love with the original concepts that I created in Matrix and Terminator, and they wanted more of that. It went around the globe. There are 3 to 4 billion Matrix and Terminator fans in every race, color, creed, nationality, and tongue. Mm-hmm. And they thought that they could just trade off on the name. They could take that name Terminator and take the name Matrix, and that they could do anything they wanted with it, that people were stupid out there, that fans wouldn't know any better, that they could just give the fans anything. But fans have shown over and over, if you don't give them a real Apple, if you don't give them a real Nike, real Samsung, or real Microsoft, or whatever is branded out there, these people will shit on you.
Yeah.
They're not fools.
Mhm. Mhm.
But most people think that they can just fool the people. And the late John Kennedy, former President Kennedy, John Kennedy, who was assassinated in 1963, told us that you can fool some of the people some of the time, but you can't fool all of the people all the time. You cannot fool the people. The power has always been with the people, and the power will be with the people. Always.
So the next time that you saw your work after you sent in everything answering the ad was on the actual screen?
Yeah, and March 31st, 1999, and I knew that was my work.
Wow.
I knew right away when I saw the movie. I say I wrote that, and no one had paid me for it, so I got in touch with the legal department. I was a paralegal. See, I'm an author. I'm a screenwriter, a producer, a poet, but a paralegal also. Well-versed in law, well-versed in many laws. I have a gift in law because I only have 20 credits in law, but I have a gift in law. So I can do any law. I can do trademark and patent law. I can do RICO law, which is criminal law. I can do civil law. I can do some family law. I can do tax law. I'm well-versed in law. And that's what they couldn't beat. They had all these lawyers, and they had billions of dollars. Listen very carefully. They had all these lawyers and billions of dollars. They even had money to pay off, using my money to pay these people off. But God told us in the Bible, he says that diamonds and pearls were not more valuable than wisdom. He told us that wisdom, which is Sophia, is greater than diamonds and pearls. That knowledge supersedes everything because it was wisdom, that the word and the wisdom was one, that a man with authority and power couldn't wield that without knowledge and wisdom.
That's right.
For they were one. That everything is polarity, not duality. Duality is the lie. There is no devil versus God, because if God created everything, then the devil is subjected to him. He's not an equal. He's a lesser. It's mathematics.
That's
and
right.
anything that comes first is more powerful than anything that comes second. And that the second can't challenge the first. So there's no way in the world everybody had everything backwards. Because duality and duping and duplicity means two, means deception. Duplicity means you're lying. And the greatest deception on this earth is what you call self-deception, is to deceive yourself. And this is how the white man gets everybody. He's not clever, he's not smart, he's not doing something any phenomenal or great. All he's doing is getting you to lie to yourself, to deceive yourself. Because once you have deceived yourself, you've automatically beat yourself.
That's right. That's right.
It's true.
So you've taken them to court. I think about 3 lawsuits, maybe more now, but I know of 3 lawsuits, and basically one, basically are beating them now at their own game. So what do you expect to come out of all of this now that you've got a couple of victories now and still going forward with the legal proceeding?
Let me tell you what the deal is. I've had 3 court cases. The first court case was California, 2003 to 2005. The second court case was 2007 to 2014 when I won on September the 25th, 2014. Everybody needs to remember that date because that's the day Eric Holder lost his job. That's the day I told Obama that Eric Holder was using Matrix money to try to get him out of office, stabbing him in the back, he and Boehner. They were paid slush fund money. That's right, slush fund payoffs. That's why Boehner lost his job on September the 25th, 2015, a year later. Now, ask yourself this. Is this a coincidence that I won on September the 25th, 2014, the day that Eric Holden lost his job and he never prosecuted a case for the DOJ, that he had already investigated the Matrix and Terminator case and found that these people had stolen it and he didn't prosecute them? How about that? And that Boehner lost his job identically a year later on the same date. We all got the same date, September the 25th, 2014 and 2015. And that Boehner and Eric is crying it's the same way. I got pictures of them both side by side, which I'll send to anybody. Think about that for a moment. Eric Holder now has got a cushy job with Goldman and Sachs. And think about that. He was there for, I don't know how many years, over several years, but never prosecuted one white-collar crime while he was in office. I'm just surprised that you guys have not put two and two together. I mean, it is so obvious what's going on here, why some people go to prison and others do not, because they've been buying their way out from prison, paying off slush funds to politicians, judges, lawyers, law enforcement, FBI agents. Once an FBI agent, you can buy them for $25,000. A mobster's wife bought an FBI for $25,000. How about that?
Yeah.
These people's souls are not worth hardly any money. You can pay slush fund money and stay out of jail. Because a lot of people ask me, why is it taking so long? It's taking so long because they stole billions of dollars, and they turn around using a $500 million, that's $500 million, to stay out of jail. What do you think happened with Bernie Madoff? Bernie Madoff stayed out of jail from 20 to 30 years, and he wasn't stealing from any poor people because poor people don't have any money. He was stealing from the rich, and the rich was reporting it to the FBI, the DOJ, and everybody you're supposed to report it to. But Bernie Madoff was paying slush funds to stay out of jail. The mobsters showed you this. The Untouchables showed you that they operate, and they was paying higher-up people. They wasn't paying nobody low on the totem pole. They were paying all the big guys, the senators, the politicians, the commissioners. And what it did, it kept Al Capone out of prison. How did they get Al Capone? Because the one little CPA, the little accountant, got on the stand and talked about how much money was missing from the books, and that was tax evasion.
Yep.
Tax evasion put him in prison. Look at John Gotti. Come on, you guys, wake up. The same thing is happening over and over. Slush fund payoffs. My third court case was at the trademark, where they got a counterfeit trademark, Enter the Matrix. Now, Enter the Matrix belongs to me. It's a derivative, a video game. But they lied to the trademark office and said it was a movie called Enter the Matrix, and that the Matrix wasn't a trilogy. The Matrix is a trilogy. It's only 3 movies made. It's not a series. You can copyright a 4th movie. That makes it a series. But Enter the Matrix is a video game. You can't get a trademark on a video game. You can't get a trademark on a single item unless it's a series, part of a series, a movie series, like the Harry Potter series. Is more than 4 movies been made. So they lied, and the trademark, they bought out a lot of people of there. Deborah Corns lost her job. She was the trademark commissioner. She's Jewish. She lost her job on September the 9th, 2014, right before Eric lost his job in Benson. Judge Benson lost his job on the federal bench. The judge was on my case on September the 25th, 2014, the day that Eric lost his job. Now, they got Deborah Corns for nepotism. Nepotism means favoritism, meaning that she was favoring all these people and letting the fox in the hen house. She let all these Warner Brother lawyers and other people go in there and start juggling and getting counterfeit trademarks. And the government knew this.
Mm-hmm.
The government doesn't want to tell a lot of things to the people because the people would rebel. They would rise up and rebel, and they don't want to go through all these problems. So what they do is they make a lot of these people like Deborah Cohen, Judge D. Benson, Eric Holder, Boehner, the House Speaker. They ask these people to resign or go to prison. They actually tell them, threaten them, if they don't resign, they're going to go to prison.
Mm-hmm.
So this is why you see a lot of these bigwigs resigning, because they've been threatened, either resign or go to prison, because they don't want to let the cat out of the bag on the people. So
right.
You guys have put these filthy politicians in office, and all they're doing is like wolves, taking all you people like sheep and just slaughtering you and
right.
milking
exactly.
you.
Exactly.
And like I said, in my third case at the trademark office, they had so many dirty trademark examining attorneys, because what Warner Brothers did, used a black woman. They had a Jewish woman who couldn't get a trademark for them, so they hired a black woman. Now, this is how they use black people. Hired a black woman to send her to jail, hired her from the examining, because she was an examining attorney for 30 years at the trademark. So she went in there and committed fraud just to get them a mark. She lied and said that Enter the Matrix was a movie. It was part of a movie series just to get them a mark.
Wow.
She perjured herself to go to prison, because she's going to jail, because those
right.
crimes like that, when you go in there, because the trademark courts and the bankruptcy courts are about money. So when they use dirty lawyers to launder, they use dirty lawyers, bagmen, you go to prison. The crime just catches up with you. I'm teaching you guys these laws and how everything connects, so you can see the big picture, so you can see how people on a higher level take shortcuts and how they use the system when they have money.
Right.
And no matter how you fight against these people, if you don't have God on your side, you're not going to go anywhere, because they got enough money, and they use your money after they done stole and sold. They use your money to fight you with your own money. Jeez. And they're dirty, because a lot of people can't go in there and handle these people. They die from cancer. They die from pressure. They give up. They can't fight this, because you're not fighting against flesh and blood. You need to know that right now. You're not fighting against flesh and blood. You're fighting against powers and principalities and authorities that have been around for years. You can't kill evil. You need to learn that. All you're going to kill is a body. And that evil is just going to jump from another body, from that body to another body, just like in the movie Fallen that you saw with Denzel Washington. And you need to go back and look at that movie Fallen, because you're not killing evil when you kill a body, because evil is an energy. And there are certain principles that you need to learn that defeat these energies and powers and principalities.
Mm-hmm.
Just like I won, just like I defeated them. I didn't go up against them as flesh and blood. There's no way, because that's not what I'm dealing with. That's not what you're dealing with. So all these wars and stuff is for nothing, because you're killing bodies, but you're not killing evil. And this is what you need to defeat, is evil. That's what's doing all this stuff here and getting all these bodies killed and destroyed.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, okay, tell us.
You need to hear this.
And we're loving what you're saying, because you're educating us. Tell us now what it is, because we're running out of time. Tell us what the people can do to help you. I know that you have a GoFundMe page, a Facebook page. At this point, what do you need now from the people and from us in terms of help? I
need people to support me and support the truth. And when I say that, I mean rally behind. When there's a black cause, rally behind that cause with your money, with your spirituality, with your love, and with your strength. To show strength and power come together. We need to segregate, not integrate, because we were very powerful back in the 20s in Oklahoma City. We were millionaires because we circulated our monies around among ourselves. Economic strength is power. When we come together and segregate our money and put it with each other, and we form our own coalitions of power, just like little Chinatown, like little Italy, like little Asian town, like little Korea. Come on. They're all practicing segregation, even the Indians, the natives now, on their reservations, and they're wealthy now because of the casinos and everything, because they brought them on. And we're the only one that's integrated, and that law integrated us. We're giving $90 billion to the white economy and the Jewish economy, making them powerful and strong. But they are not giving us nothing back, and black people want to join them. But you're never going to join them because they don't want you. They just want your money. When they put white women on these black athletes and keep the black girls away because they want the white women's wives to take that money and put it in the white economy. Learn economic power is the power. Making the money and segregating the money and becoming powerful as one. That's what's powerful. Not killing, not fighting, not hurting each other, but economic power is the answer. And segregation, to segregate and become powerful and get everybody like us. Get rid of the nigger scouts and the niggers that infiltrated, or the Indian scouts that infiltrated to harm, even no matter what race you are. No matter if you're Spanish, no matter if you're Asian, no matter if you, or whatever race, white, Jewish, because there's good people and bad people, good judges and bad judges, good lawyers, bad lawyers, good cops, bad cops. You can get anything in this world because they're good people, period. And that's what we need to focus on, the good, and becoming economically powerful and strong by segregating our money with our good, powerful people. This is real. I'm serious with you guys. What I'm speaking now is real. It's not about killing, because oil and water don't mix. If you go out and killing and doing the same thing that somebody is doing to you, they can get you because you become them. But they can't get you if you say oil or water, because oil and water don't mix. If I want to get you and I'm evil, then I got to make you commit an evil act to do just like me, lie, kill, and steal. And I say, oh, yeah, I got you now. You're mine. And this is why our system, prison system, is filled.